Hi everyone, this is your astrologer Hassan Jaffer with analysis of Prince Archie Harrison Windsor Mountbatten, the son of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and the eighth great-grandchild of the Queen. It is interesting that I did expect the letter A with that Mercury in Aries, but definitely not Archie. It's a very complex chart, very difficult chart actually, and it may look very easy that he's a Taurus with Mercury in Aries. It's almost like contradictions, but they are really good ones also. The first thing we notice is that he's double Taurus. It means his sun sign is Taurus and his rising sign is also Taurus. It's not common that you see Taurus risings and not many trustworthy people in this world. So it's one of the most stable aspects to have. That's the first thing. So he will carry on the tradition of the monarchy, which is very important. And I'd love to see his hand actually if the brain line is joined or separate, because that would determine quite a few things, it'll clarify a lot of things. You see, astrology gives you some fantastic insight, but palmistry can actually show you whether it's actually working or not. For example, his Mercury is in the sign of Aries. It's a very impatient, impulsive sign, where they want something, they want it right away. They need the challenge and they need to see the results right away. Unlike many astrologers who said to be very calm and very patient, patience is not one of the virtues of Mercury in the sign of Aries at all. Hitler was also Taurus with Mercury in the sign of Aries. But there are some very good examples of people who had a deliberate way of speaking. But that's not because of Mercury in Aries. That's because of Mercury-Saturn aspect. For example, Einstein, and he didn't start speaking till quite late. He had a Mercury-Saturn aspect, and he also had Mercury in the sign of Aries. He was actually a sun sign of Pisces. Also, Leonardo da Vinci, who also had a Mercury-Saturn aspect, and so did Michelangelo. Now, Leonardo da Vinci had Mercury in Aries aspect of Saturn, which is one of the signs of genius to me. You can either be a moron or a genius. There's no in-between when you have a Saturn-Mercury theme. Saturn always creates difficulties in communication or when people stutter, especially in boys. So Mercury in the sign of Aries, there's an internal curiosity. It's like children when they're ADD, which is, to me, is not a disease or anything at all. I've always said, show me a child with ADD and I'll show you a champion. So they just left with boring teachers. That's what happens now. But Mercury is in the 12th house. 12th house is more for research, for investigation. And they're a bit, held back, observing rather than just talking. If that Mercury was in the first house, then you would talk like a house on fire. But being in the 12th house is more for research, so he keeps it back. But there is an internal curiosity there. So Mercury in the sign of Aries, close to Venus. Now Venus beautifies the voice. It's 10 degrees up, and I'm sure it's working in his case also. Many singers, many comedians, he would definitely have a sort of a sarcastic wit. Frank to the point of being blunt, that part is there, but yet it's sort of reserved also. Now Uranus was very close to Mercury, which is one of the brilliant aspects when they think outside the box. It gives an erratic thinking, which I don't think he'll have erratic thinking, but it does concern me a little bit that it's in the 12th house, which is a major health house, as long as he doesn't have headaches and all that later on, any head area related, because that's the Aries theme. So Uranus makes him almost think like an Aquarius, except rather than just ideas, he's an action-oriented. He'd want to take the car apart and put it back, and of course he's inherited that from his grandmother, who's also a Taurus, the Queen, and Mercury in the sign of Aries, and she was a mechanic during the World War. And she thinks like a man, and coming from me, it's a compliment. She's confident, she's curious, she loves a challenge. To Mercury in Aries, it's a very strong, forceful mind. It's also sextile to Mars, which rules the sign of Aries, so that's making it even more forceful. So Mercury in Aries, impulsive and impatient, and a bit tactless and frank, but Venus makes it more eloquent, being close to Mercury. It's trine to Jupiter. That makes it more philosophical and broad-minded and very intelligent and rather wise, that he gets it right away. He doesn't have the patience to go through it. And Mercury also squared to Saturn. So that slows down the intellect but harnesses the intellect, and that's what makes it a person like a genius. The only thing is he also has a Pluto-Mercury square, when he can come to wrong conclusions, when you violate the divine truth. So for example, if you tell somebody don't drive fast, you can get killed, and something does happen. Many dictators are born with Mercury-Pluto aspect, including Mao Zedong, Reagan. All these people, Jean Chrétien of Canada, they were all born with that Mercury-Pluto theme. But when the system is wrong, they are excellent in rectifying it. But if the system is right, they can really screw up the system. Now, in his case, I have a feeling that because it's like a doctor and a scientist chart, all the 12th house planets, but rather than practicing, I think he'll be involved with the mental institutions and all the things that Prince Harry and Prince William and Princess Diana also they started. He will continue that, and he'll take it to the completely next level. He'll completely change at a global level. That would be the best outcome of a Pluto-Mercury theme. Because Pluto Mercury indicates when you want to impose your will, and the whole will is against you, and the entire system has to change to adapt to your viewpoint. Nobody seems to have talked about it, but that's a very strong theme in his chart. When you're fighting a system where there's something wrong there. Now he has a Mars-Neptune square configuration, which is a very, very obsessive theme. Many drug addicts are born with that aspect. However, in his case, he's not going to be into drugs and alcohol. He will have to be careful of drinking and all that. There's an obsessive theme, whatever he does. Hopefully it'll be sports and other things which require a sense of rhythm and physical energy, because he's also quite athletic. He's got a Mars-Jupiter aspect. Now he's inherited that from Prince Charles, who has exactly the same theme as well. He's got a Mars-Jupiter also. But he used to fall down from horses too. He will be very daring and adventurous, and he also has inherited that from his mother actually. Meghan has Mars-Jupiter square. That's what makes her daring and adventurous. And to marry a prince, I mean, she really had to do a lot of things and go out of her way. And to even imagine that you can be like that. And of course, she used to imagine that she was a princess right from the early childhood. So there's a definite daring side to her. That is a Mars-Jupiter theme. The negative thing in her chart is a Mars-Saturn square, which is the rebelliousness against authority, which makes her accident prone also. And many times she does things which make people frown. So Mars aspect to Neptune is an obsessive theme in his chart. But Neptune being the sign of Pisces, the most humanitarian sign, and a very spiritual sign. And it's in the 12th house, its own house, very strong Piscean influence. So I have a feeling that he's going to be like a savior, and very much action-oriented, but a bit behind the scenes, because all these planets are in the 12th house. He'll understand the needs of the drug addicts and people with mental problems. He'll also be a fantastic, like a pioneer, investigator, but he will come out with things which are controversial and divide mankind in groups. For example, in Darwin's case, who had a Mercury-Pluto aspect, his theories certainly created a big rift in religion and science. And so on one side, he's got Mercury squared to Saturn, where he harnesses the intellect, and Saturn forces him to become more deliberate in his thinking. In fact, many left-handed people are born with that. Leonardo da Vinci not only was left-handed, he spelled backwards. You had to put a mirror in front of his writing to understand it, to read his writings. But on the other side, you have Jupiter trining that Mercury, which makes him much more broad-minded and also influenced from foreign countries, foreign lands, foreign people, foreign languages. So Jupiter-Mercury is a very scholarly type of an aspect and broad-minded theme, very fast intellect, I should say. To the many aspects to his Mercury, Venus aspect to Mercury beautifies the voice, makes him more eloquent. Uranus aspect to Mercury makes him think very differently from normal people, and the usage of new technology and futuristic technology. Mars sextile to Mercury gives him a forceful mind and a technical mind. Jupiter trining Mercury gives him a philosophical mind. Saturn makes it much more constructive and productive and long-range planning. And Pluto gives it a bit of a Scorpio touch for research, for digging up information. So he's got so many aspects to his Mercury. It's amazing how many parts of the brain that he'll be using. So it's a very unusual chart and sort of a restrained intellect, but high intellect. And also when it comes to wrong conclusions, in fact, he'll never be as sure as when he's wrong. So from time to time, he may jump the gun, or like Prince Philip, he might say things which are true, but very controversial. So his real need is to be politically totally incorrect. Yet, he will go with the dictates of the society and the monarchy. He will keep it to himself, but his real intellect, his real nature, will be very honest to himself. Now, Venus also being the sign of Aries, is also aspect to Saturn. Venus in Aries itself is in the 12th house. By itself, Marilyn Monroe had Venus in Aries, for example. It's a bit of a selfish placement when it comes to love matters. For a man, it's a strong placement, but 12th house gives some sacrificing instincts. The Saturn gives a restrictive aspect in love, the Venus-Saturn square, and Pluto-Venus indicates when you like somebody very much, but they're totally different religion. It's like a black and white type of relationship, and we know where that comes from. The Venus-Jupiter, of course, is a very wealthy aspect to have, and which is understandable, of course, but he also has a very good business sense, the ability to make money, and in properties, and having that Capricorn right on top of the chart in building. He's very close to what we call a pure chart in astrology. His needs are, for example, if Aries is rising, that's like a pure chart. Aries represents the first house. In his case, he's Taurus, so he's more stable than just Aries rising there. But Cancer in the 4th house, and it gets very well nurtured. Leo in his 5th house, and the 5th house is a natural Leo house. So his actual chart is very close to the natural arrangement of zodiac also, as we say. So 5th house is Leo, and he actually has Leo there, so it strengthens each house like that. And Leo also, of course, his mother, that's exactly his mother's chart, Leo Virgo, in his 5th house. His father has Virgo planets and his mother has Leo planets, so they both will be extremely supportive of his hobbies. There's a fame element through his hobbies in his case, rather than his career. His career is the 10th house, but Leo in the 5th house indicates what he loves is a hobby, that he makes money from that. In archaeology and in investigating, in getting to the bottom of things, he has a talent for all of that. And of course, a home having that Cancer and Leo reminds me of banquet halls, when there are all the family reunions and all the really good gourmet food, but also the castle and the Leo theme, all the pomp there. In his 7th house, where he has Scorpio and Sagittarius, that's where it indicates when it comes to marriage, there's a restrictive theme that he likes someone else, but he has to marry somebody else because of tradition, etc. That's the Scorpio theme. And Sagittarius indicates when the person has that foreign connotation or philosophical type, where there's travel involved. Now, Taurus rising makes him quite mild, actually, as opposed to that Scorpio in the 7th house of marriage, where he likes his intense women, probably because of a strong mother. He has Jupiter in his 8th house, which is one of the best aspects for grants and money and raising money. So hopefully this will be to raise money from all kinds of sources around the world and globally for mental things and all these other charities that he'll be involved with. Capricorn also indicates when he takes management related, like an MBA, and practical productive courses as well. Capricorn and Aquarius right on top of the chart. There's a certain conservative element with that Capricorn. It's long-term buildings and constructions. But Aquarius is the modern technology. And Aquarius and Pisces being in 11th house, there's all that community through social networks. Pisces has that hidden talent for the music also. That entire age group has that element. And the obsessive theme, the Mars-Neptune, which also indicates when they have to be careful of allergies and immune system. And Megan is very conscious of all the health and organic things and almost a bit paranoid in this respect, so she'll influence him in that respect probably. His moon is in Gemini, which is very good for communication also, and it's a wide out-of-sign aspect to Pluto as well. Actually, he has a Saturn-Mercury trine. It's an out-of-sign trine, 10 degrees off. The stiff upper lip that they talk about, but it's not negative in his case. His mother has a bit of a depression. Megan has a Moon-Saturn conjunction, which is the sadness at home and so many things that she had, whereas in his case, he has a trine. So in building a property, you can take huge land and build it. That is a very positive aspect. You're emotionally tough, but not in a negative way. The Aries part, Venus in Aries, quite often in fashion design and architecture, we find that. And Prince Charles actually designed environmentally friendly and ergonomic furniture. Beautiful furniture. He has Venus in Libra, just like Prince Harry, actually. So there's a lot of sacrificing aspect. Mercury, Venus, Neptune, Uranus, everything being in the 12th house. Now, Uranus is the sign of Taurus. This is when the cryptocurrency will become the norm very soon. It's once in 84 years where you break the tradition. When Uranus was in Aries, there was a threat for nuclear war and all. Right now, it's gone. That Uranus is not coming back to Aries for 84 years. So all the talk about the missiles, all that, nothing's going to happen with that. But Uranus in Taurus indicates a break from the tradition. So there is that element, but not in a very eccentric, erratic way. I'm a little concerned about his head area, that he has to be very careful of that, and the ear, nose, and throat infections. And that Pluto-Mercury, Saturn-Mercury, all these themes that lead me to think of certain things that he'll be involved with. There's a definite mission in his life. But if he's not doing this mission, there are events that are forced in you. When you completely reevaluate your attitude towards life, death, God, everything. But we'll have to see how this works out. I would encourage the medicine, archaeology, the roots, very high intellect, the engineering. He's got so many different talents. But Saturn right on top of the chart, many scientists are born with that. It's a bit of a serious aspect, but witty at the same time. And Pluto right on top of the chart is quite powerful, of course. And he definitely has very strong leadership ability. Now, the signs of Pisces in women, in secret love, or somebody who's married, for example, he's got to be careful of this aspect in his chart. He will be drawn to celebrities also, with that Leo being in the 5th house. It gives actually the acting talent. It's all hidden elements in his chart. But it's clandestine affairs, that 12th house theme in his chart, so strong. The humanitarian part is there, but at the same time, Neptune being the 12th house, Venus being in the 12th house, and Venus Pluto and Venus Saturn, the restrictive aspect where the church or the religion or the culture frowns upon it. At the same time, he's got this real adventurous spirit when it comes to love matters. Hopefully, he'll be able to keep it all hidden with that 12th house theme. In terms of transits, all the planets are right on top of the chart. Throughout 2020, Saturn comes in his 10th house, which is the major genetic axis. So, of course, the parents, grandparents, when they've got to be very careful of the health. The great-grandparents, of course. That's part of that 10th house axis, a very strong axis throughout next year. Events which affect the entire country. There's a lot of travel coming up with that Jupiter going in his 9th house also, from end of this year throughout next year. Then there's that Jupiter touching his 10th house very early in life actually. So up to the age of 7 is going to be quite in the limelight actually. From its late teens and 21 onwards, that's when Saturn starts rising up in his chart also. So it'll be quite a force to be reckoned with actually, and I'm sure he'll change the system, and we wish him all the best. We wish Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's congratulations to them, and I'm sure they'll have some wonderful children, at least 3-4 more, and we wish them all the best and good luck. This is astrologer Hassan Jaffer, and if you like my analysis, you can always subscribe to our channel.